Hello, good morning, and welcome to this late morning taste challenge. We have two blended Scotch whiskies, and this is 100 Pipers, or 100 Pipers. 100 Pipers was introduced in 1965 by Chivas Brothers. It's still a Chivas Brother brand, but for the United States market, it is bottled in Kentucky by Heaven Hill. You can see that's a Heaven Hill bottle, cylindrical bottle. Very common bottle. Don't know what their arrangement is, but it's something. It's produced in Scotland. And I got a link below for Chivas Brothers. They say it's the #1 selling Scotch in India. It says 100 Pipers is the #1 blended Scotch whiskey in India. Named after there's a whole story in the back of the bottle, named after the tradition of bagpipers in a particular battle in 1845 between Scottish rebels supporting the House of Stuart versus the British Army supporting King George II of the House of Hanover. Anyway, created in 1965 by master blender Alan Bailey, says. Now, they describe it as a sweet, complex, and rounded blend with a fruity nose and delicate honey flavor. Some of the best malts in the Speyside region. Okay. Naturally, they're going to say that's superior quality cask. And it's a different bottle design for the other countries. And it's called Seagram's 100 Pipers. Seagram's used to own Chivas Brothers before Seagram's went out of business in the year 2000. The range includes 100 Pipers Deluxe, which is what I have here, or just 100 Pipers for the U.S. market, and the 12-year-old. So I guess in India they got 100 Pipers Deluxe and the 12-year-old. And here, since they don't sell the 12-year-old in the U.S., I've never seen it. They just have 100 Pipers. I got a great deal on it. If I told you the price, you would think it was made up. It was made up, but it wasn't. And Chivas Brothers makes a lot of products like Chivas Regal, their main line brand. Plus, they produce Valentine's, the Glenlivet, Single Malt, Royal Salute, which is a very fancy Chivas Brothers, super high shelf, hundreds of dollars product. Arbor, Single Malt, and they have the Secret Speyside Collection and Scapa, as well as Glen Campbell. I mean, not Glen Campbell, that was a singer. Clan Campbell, sorry about that. Something Special and Passport. Now, I know where to get Passport. I know where to get Royal Salute. The Glenlivet, everybody sells that. Valentine's, most everybody sells that. Chivas Regal, who doesn't sell that? All right. NorCal 7 Rocker 07 says, cheers, Jay. Cheers to you. Scoggett says, hello, everyone. Hello to you. Thanks for watching, folks. The competitor is from only 9 years ago, and it is called Cutty Sark Prohibition Edition, and it was introduced to celebrate the 80th anniversary of the end of United States Prohibition. No age statement, but it is non-chill filtered, and it's a 100 proof. So we got a 50% Scotch and a 40% alcohol Scotch. And this is from Glen Turner, which is really just the Scotch whiskey division of Le Martiniquais of France. Le Martiniquais. Sit up there. Sorry about that. I was checking on something. GHX End of World says you rule. Thank you. All right. I don't know what I rule, but all right. Anyway, so Chivas Brothers is actually the Scotch whiskey division of Pernod Ricard. So you have buyouts and buyouts and buyouts. Got my glasses marked. Wasn't able to do Dawn Busters this morning, but usually I do it at 5:30 in the morning. Real cork too, real piece of cork, not that pressboard cork, and not rubber neoprene, and not a twist cap. All right, so very nice and very strong. Put that over there. It's a black bottle. It's really dark brown glass, but it looks black unless you hold it under intense light. So it's black for all intents and purposes. This has a clear bottle. I think it's Scotland. I was going to say, I think for India, it's a clear bottle. Overseas in India also, yeah, clear bottle. Just a different design with an embossed flag, Scottish flag in that. Buzzle Poppy Seed says, cheers, Ron. Cheers to you. Okay. Put these over here. So I got this for super cheap. Won't even mention the price because it seemed made up. And then I paid $27 for the Cutty Sark, which is cheap because Total Wine and More has it listed right now for $29.99. He says, yummy, I got to go to work. Sucks. Yeah, well, I just got back from work. So I couldn't do the Dawn Busters. Okay. So $29.99 for Cutty Sark, but I got a liter bottle for $27. It might have been 23, but I'm thinking 27. But so I got much cheaper than normal, and I got 25% more. Appearance, the Cutty Sark is darker. It's amber, and this is gold. Do they still make that Cutty Sark Prohibition? That's what I'm doing. Oh, you wanted to know if I just had gotten an old bottle somewhere and they stopped making it. No, they still make it. It's on the. You check the website. Still talking about it, and we still see it around here. So now this is an older bottle. This when it was part of the Edrington group, but Edrington sold the rights and the equipment and whatever facilities of Cutty Sark to Glen Turner, La Martiniquez. Really, La Martiniquez. All right. Bottled in America, but I'm going to change it. It's bottled in Kentucky specifically. Kentucky. The Commonwealth of Kentucky. So much love for the Cutty Sark Prohibition, says Jeff Whiskey. Total Wine is the best beer, dollar per grams, per milligrams. Yeah, per ounces. Yeah, it is. Generally. Not always. Usually. Not always, but usually. Okay. Yeah. It smells like honey top sourly white bread and fermented grains, sweet honey. So if you like sweet honey, the smell of sweet honey and honey top bread, that's going to work for you. This one is, they're saying Speyside. It's got more of a compost. You know, you get that peaty smell like old rotted organic matter. It has that a little bit, not too much, but it's a little bit. Okay, so on aroma, I'm thinking that's the Cutty Sark, and in my right hand is the 100 Pipers, but I'm not really sure, and I don't want to do like I did on one of the taste challenges with this series of jumping the gun and being overconfident like I was with Johnny Walker Blue Label. I was like, I know that's Johnny Walker Blue Label on aroma only, and then I checked, I had it wrong. Now, when I tasted it, yeah, it was clear which was which. And I felt bad because it stopped me from having a perfect record in the series. But that was my fault. There's no one to blame but myself. Let's go with the taste. Cheers. I'm not going to do a dirty trick like quietly delete the video and then come back and restage it live and say, oh, look, I got it right. Would I get it right if I did it again? Yeah. Yes, easily. But it's done. It's the past. This tastes like honey top wheat bread, like I say, sourly. Okay, very pleasant, mild. You say, oh, I love intense smoke. I want that smoky Scotch. Yeah, these two are not going to work for that. That's not what they present. So just it's not going to happen. I'm going to read the comments a little bit. All right. All right. This has a little smokiness, but it's so little. It's just, and it may be a misperception of it. I might be interpreting the peat, that, like I said, that compost pile taste with the smoke. And I think that's what's happening. Also, this seems stronger. So on aroma, I think I had it backwards, but it seems stronger, fuller, bolder. In other words, 100 proof versus the 80. So the 100 Pipers is 80 proof, and the Cutty Sark Prohibition Edition is 100 proof. So they should have made the 100 Pipers 100 proof, right? 100. Okay. I would assume you can get both of these in your town if you live in a pretty big town. I don't live in a big town. Really. It's mid-size. 29,000 people. We have a good variety. If I only bought beer, wine, and liquor here, I would never run out. Okay, so I would never run out. But you like to go to bigger cities. I go to Baton Rouge, not a big city, of course, just over 200,000 people, small city. New Orleans, bigger, medium-sized city, and you can find a lot more, and you can makes it a little more exciting. But I tell people that they'll say, I want to send you some beer. And I'm like, I don't really recommend that. In the last 2 weeks, people told me that. But I said, I don't recommend that because I get so much here. And what you send me, I might see in a week. And they didn't pursue it. They didn't say, oh, no, I really want to send it. They said, oh, okay. And that was it. And that was good. Now, which of these do I prefer? The mild one is very nice, and I think it's got to be the Cutty's, the 100 Pipers, because it's so mild, and they water it down. You say, well, how do they proof a whiskey? How do they bring it down to 80 proof? They just simply add water. It can't go below 80. Now in the United States, they have things called light whiskey. I've seen, or in Canadian whiskey, it's like 70 proof, what is very light. I've never dealt with those products. I accidentally bought one when I was in Arkansas. And I was like, oh, yeah, I want to try this from Heaven Hill. I know it's from Heaven Hill, even though they're using an alias name. It was so obvious, And I said, I want to try it out. I like these little strange products. But then I realized it was only 70 proof, and I was appalled. I said, 70 proof? Well, I couldn't drive back to Texarkana and get a refund, so I'll just have to live with it. Yeah, I prefer the Cutty Sark. This has got to be the Cutty Sark. I'm calling it. It is. Got it right. Why do I know that? It's just a stronger, more intense, and a heavier body. It's fuller. You could tell it's 100 proof. It's not 80 proof. Some people won't touch 80 proof whiskey. They say it's too weak. It's too watery. Only wimps drink that and so forth. Well, okay. I like 80 proof. I'll take that criticism, whatever. What's the most popular whiskey in the United States? In 80 proof, no age statement, blended Canadian whiskey called Crown Royal. So apparently a lot of people like 80 proof. Look at Glenlivet, the Glenlivet. Founders Reserve, 12-year age, super popular, 80 proof. People love it. Jack Daniels, you say, 80 proof. Yep, used to be 90. Then it would drop to 86. Then they brought it down to 80. They did it quietly, like they didn't make any fanfare. You said he cheapened it. Well, yeah, it's less whiskey, more water. Sure. They didn't lower the price. What's the most popular bourbon in the United States that calls itself bourbon? Jim Beam. So think about those. Your top 4 whiskeys in the U.S. are all 80 proof. Do the 100 proofers have a role to play? Certainly they do. And they play, and it's a big role. It's just not the biggest. Okay, so I'll vote for the Cutty Sark. Now the question, is it really worth $20 more? $20 more. You could do a lot with $20 even with inflation. So I'm not too sure if it is. But if you're one of these people like me, you say, well, I just got to try it. I want to try it. I don't want to hear about it. I want to try it. I'm willing to pay extra to try. Okay, then buy it. $29.99, buy it. Or if you find a great deal like I did, certainly buy it. It's the 100 Pipers worth the cheap price you can find it. I see it for $9.99, $9.99. Even some places, well, maybe a year ago, $8.99. Probably still can find it for $8.99. Yeah, of course, buy it. There's no downside. There's no, you lose nothing. The flavor's there, the taste is there, the enjoyment level's there. And what are you paying? $9 to $10. Oh man. Of course, I paid $3.98. You say you lie so much. I did pay $3.98 for this amount. That's 750 milliliters. That's not a small bottle. Discount Depot, Marrero, Louisiana. No, don't go back and look for it now at that price, because you will not find it at that price. You know how long it lasted at that price? Maybe a day, 2 days, possibly. I don't know how, maybe. And now it's back to the regular price. So when I see these deals, I say, yeah, I'm buying it, I'm going to buy it. When I saw those deals last week at Walmart, I didn't pass those up. That was like unreal. Those deals were like off the chain. Like you say, oh, that's beyond any expected price. Yeah, it was. It was shocking, really, but I couldn't help it. All right, so let's see. Total Wine is taken over. Well, B Aviation, it is. I make drinking fun. Well, I'm not really drinking per se. I'm more like tasting. Scotty, you would love to try that? Well, it's at the store. Back in the 1970s, Scotty says, back in the 1970s, had a friend whose dad drank Cutty Sark often. He was in his 90s and he drank it regularly. Huh? Yeah, Queen Elizabeth used to drink, and her mother, the Queen Mother, who lived to be 101, drank gin every evening. Didn't smoke cigarettes. She lived to be 101. Queen Elizabeth, 96. But they weren't, overweight. They didn't probably eat a lot of greasy food. They exercised, maybe a minimal amount. But her mind was sharp till she died. You see, and the Queen Mother too, no dementia, right? Queen Elizabeth drove her own vehicle, around her property, not up and down the street to go to the grocery store. But you know what I'm saying? She insisted driving her own vehicle into her 90s. So, yeah, I know Scoggett. So forget that person. All right. Good morning, everyone. Says Michael Hill. Good morning to you. Every liquor company, says B Aviation, should hire you to be a sensory expert. I have no certifications. I have no training. The only training I have is at home and, research on the internet. Have you ever considered seeking out companies to go on sensory panels? No. I stay busy enough, really. I have done that. I did it for Hershey's once. Didn't get paid. They just wanted me and my daughter, literally. They wanted my daughter and myself to taste this red licorice. I don't know why. They just said, taste this red licorice. And they had these forms to fill out with a pencil or pen. And, what do you think about the red licorice? And they have questions, you just fill in that, respond to the questions. And we did it. We thought it was okay. It wasn't really fabulous. And anyway, have you ever seen Hershey's red licorice? I haven't. Maybe they decided it wasn't something they wanted to put on the market. Oh, they probably put it on the market under an alias name, because they're just like these whiskey companies. They have their name, Hershey's, and then they have alias names, like maybe Old Pennsylvania Candy Company, something like that, and you think it's an independent company. Unless you do the research, you would think it is, and then it wouldn't really matter if you like the candy. Good morning, everyone, says Michael. Rockstar Zero says cheers. B Aviation. taking a sensory class right now, and everyone can do it. They train you and pay you for your time. Well, that sounds like a good deal. Get paid to be trained. When before Miller Coors sold to Molson Coors, remember when it was S.A.B. Miller? For years, I would do these little, what you talking about type of thing, but it wasn't the tasting. It was for their label designs, believe it or not. So they told me, well, every time you do the label design assessment, we'll pay you. So I said, okay, I don't know why you came to me, but maybe you think I'm good at assessing label design. So for years, they would send me, they said, we have another thing. And they would say, what do you think about this? And they would show you like maybe 5 different label proposals. But the agreement was you couldn't talk about it. Like you couldn't tell people about it. So like when they came out with the new Milwaukee's Best Ice and the Ice House 6.9%, when they jacked it up to 6.9%, which was a terrible mistake. I thought it was going to be a terrible mistake. But they didn't ask me, what do you think about jacking up the ABV? They asked me, what do you think about the labels? So I went through and I was like, well, that's the best looking label. Why do you think so? And so forth. And I was telling people, I said, something's coming. That's all I said. I said, something's coming, and I don't think you're going to like it, but get ready for it. And they were like, what is it? What is it? And I said, I can't say. So 6 months later, when it hit the market, everybody was like, oh, wow, what are they doing? Are they crazy? And I was like, I knew about it 6 months ago, but remember I told y'all I couldn't say anything about it? And it was a fiasco. I mean, the sales obviously dropped like a rock, because it wasn't a year later. They went back. We're back to the 5.5. I'm sorry, 5.9 for Ice House, 5.9 for Milwaukee's Best Ice, and 5.5 for Ice House. Yeah, 5.5. But to me, they should have talked to me, because I would have said, look, you don't have to get rid of the 6.9. You can keep it. There will be a handful of people that will buy it, and it could be like Milwaukee's Best Ice Extra, or Ice House Special Edition, and it could be a stronger one, but they didn't do it. They're not thinking creatively. I'm not a creative thinker, really, but they weren't at all. Good morning, everyone. Cheers. Do you watch the National Socialist Football League? It says Rockstar Zero. Yeah. Sometimes when the Saints are playing, which is every week except for the bye week. Yeah, I watch it. I'm not one of these rah-rah people anymore. When I was younger, I was out there like all worried about them winning or losing. But you're younger and you don't realize, man, this is a dirty business. This league is dirty, and then you just watch it. You're just watching it. Me, talking about me. And I say, oh, they lost. Oh, well, maybe it'll be a terrible year. I'm not going to obviously get stressed out about it. It's just something to watch, like casual entertainment. Same thing with college football. I go to the games. I'm like, oh, that was a nice touchdown. Them clapping like that, And if they win, I'm happy. And if they lose, just take it easy, B Aviation said, imagine being the guy who came up with going to 6.9 high. I'm sure the company loved him after that. He probably don't work for the company anymore. But half those people don't work for the company anymore, because remember, they got bought out by Molson Coors, so they didn't need 2 staffs. So a lot of people went on the bye-bye list. Same thing happened with Kraft Heinz. I used to know a guy that worked for Kraft, and he went around selling. He was a salesman. He sold Kraft products. And he was really paranoid and worried. He was like, man, I'm worried about this buyout. I don't know what's going to happen. They say they're going to fire half the people. Not fire them for doing a bad job, just releasing them. They don't need. I said, yeah, well, I told him, I said, yeah, well, Peter, they don't need 2 staffs. They're not going to need 2 salesmen. They only need 1. And Heinz is going to keep the people that's from them. They're going to keep their people, unless they're terrible, And they're going to release the Kraft people. And I never saw him again after the buyout, maybe a month after. That's how that works. They don't need duplication of effort. Why you think Miller Coors sold the Miller Brewery in Los Angeles? They didn't need it. Why did they shut down the brewery in Ohio? They didn't need it. They got excess capacity. They don't need a huge brewery sitting there half used. So why do you think they contract with Pabst? They got excess capacity. They can produce all the Pabst products generally, except for the last 2 years with all this trouble. But and so you say, well, why did Pabst shut down all their breweries? But they don't need them. It's cheaper just to pay Miller and Coors to produce their beers. Do they taste the same? Yes. Why? Because they just give them a recipe. Here's the ingredients for Pabst Blue Ribbon. Miller Coors, they say, oh, I'm sorry, Molson Coors, Molson of Canada, 50% of the company. Coors, the other 50%, two owners, two families. It's a family-owned company, but it's two families. But they say, oh, Carlsberger yeast, this type of hops, this type of malt, this type of yeast. I mean, I already said the yeast. Yeah, you can do that. It's nothing to it, and they do it. Perfect. Are you talking about Nestle? No, I was talking about Bam Douglas. Oh, I'm talking about Hershey's. But I did that survey for that study, whatever. Didn't take long. The Whiskey Scout said, I just seen this title and said, why? I watched your video for Cutty Sark Prohibition Edition, and I really liked it. If you picked, and you were talking about how you don't really drink it much, you see it on the shelf, and you say, I'll get something else. Fair enough. If you pick 100 Pipers, I will wonder what is wrong with your taste buds. Well, I did not pick 100 Pipers, and I was able to tell them apart. And I did say that I would prefer to get the Cutty Sark. Costs more, $20 more. But on the other hand, you get more. You get more. Now, if you're telling me, look, I can't afford it. If you told me that I cannot afford a $9.99 Scotch, I can do that. This is not the time for me to pay $30 for a bottle of Scotch. Is the 100 Pipers a decent substitute? My answer is yes. Now, other people are going to tell you it's rot gut, tastes like gasoline and chemical waste and all that. But I'm not going to say that because it does not taste like that. All right. I'm not saying it's, oh, it's so wonderful. Now, what about the 12-year age 100 Pipers? I'm sure that's a lot better. And I'm sure it's not no $9.99. It's probably $29.99. But you can't find it. I've never seen it. I don't think it's sold in the United States. Let's look at one more thing and then we're off the air. There's a product. It's really cheap and it's hard to find around here. It's called Royal Canadian. Now, if you look up Royal Canadian, it's going to bring you to, it's going to keep trying to make you look at Crown Royal because it like confuses the search engines. But it's a brand. It's called Royal Canadian. It's actually 5 years older than Crown Royal. It's been on the market 5 years longer than Crown Royal. And it has 5 fans for every million Crown Royal fans. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's not popular. And it's cheap. I paid $8.99 for the bottle. But there is a 12-year age, something like that. It's called Royal Canadian Small Batch. Has a different label, a different bottle with a cork. And I'm sure it's much better, but I'm sure it's not $8.99. And I don't know where to get Royal Canadian Small Batch, but I know one thing. You can call Sazerac and they will tell you where to get it and if you can get it. They will do that for you. I've called Sazerac at least 7 or 8 times over the last 8 years. And I've asked them, I'm looking for this particular product. Do you know where I can find it? They say, hold on a minute. They look it up. You can hear them typing the keyboard. Oh, yes, it's here or whatever. And they'll even tell you when it was put on the shelf in that town. Or they'll tell you when was the last time it was sold in that town. I remember one time the guy said, oh, we haven't had it in that store since October 2014. Sorry. I was like, well, that's a pretty impressive stash of information, what you would call it, a pretty impressive collection of information that you've got there. Database. That's what it's called, a database. Couldn't think of it. All right. So 100 Pipers, I like it. My friend David would say you got bad taste. 100 Pipers for me was wet, malty cardboard with a very noticeable alcohol note. Like I've always said, Whiskey Scout, you got to call it as you see it. Now, don't take offense to that. Some people do. They get really hostile. I've had trouble with some beer reviewers over the years that they're so defensive. Like Brian Wilson said in 1966, they come on like they're peaceful, but inside they're so uptight. And I agree with that. But luckily, happily, the happy note is that I haven't run across too many of those type of people, but they're out there. My whole point is, why would you get angry over talking about beer? It's a drink. If you like it, you like it. If you have mixed feelings about it, then you have mixed feelings about it. If you hate it, then you hate it. That's not a big deal. And then he's explaining what he's saying, okay, but this is what I thought about it. I'm not picking that up, okay? I'm not picking up malty cardboard and a very alcohol note, okay? I'm not. You say, well, yeah, because you're going up against 100 proof. The 100 proof is overriding all that. That could be the case. It very possibly is the case. Okay, well, that's it. A whiskey which gets a bad rap but is really quite good is Old Crow. I would agree with that. Now, the Old Crow we get today, is it the same as the old days? No, it isn't. Back before I was born, they used to make more than one Old Crow. And it was at the premium level. Now it's sold at the budget level. 3-year age, minimal, very minimal. A lot of people say it's nothing more than a 3-year age Jim Beam. And that's probably true. But we can't say that because we don't know, but it kind of tastes like it. Okay, but somebody gave me a 1977 bottle of Old Crow. He said, I'm never going to drink it. I might give it to my son-in-law. I said, is he going to drink it? He said, no. I said, I'll pay you for it. I said, I'll buy it. And he had a Wild Turkey 101, 1983. But he didn't know anything about him. He said, I don't know how old they are. I said, I'll buy him from you. He said, okay. So the next day when I saw him at work, he brought the bottle to me. He said, you can just have them. I said, what? He said, you can have them. They're just wasting. So I was shocked. It was a 1977 bottle of Old Crow, bottled in bond. Old white label, Old Crow bottled in bond, 100 proof, age 8 years, 1969 to 1977. I was shocked. I was like, I can't get over this. And people were telling me, don't open that bottle. People online, don't open that bottle. You could sell it for $100 or $200. I said, I'm not going to sell it, because he gave it to me. I said, and secondly, I drink whiskey or taste it, I'm not into that cash out. So it was great. Now, the modern Old Crow is a joke compared to that, but the modern Old Crow is all right. It's all right. I agree with you. I like it. And I can get it for $10. So what the heck? The Wild Turkey 101, same thing. It was the 8-year age, 1975 to 1983, 101. Now, if you get Old Crow to start again, if you get Wild Turkey 101 today, it doesn't have an age statement. I don't know how old it is. What is it, 4 years? Well, we know it's at least 4 years, but is it older than 4? I don't know. Doesn't taste like. I said it doesn't taste. I never had the Old Crow. I never had the Wild Turkey 101 since I had that 1983 8-year age. But it was dynamite. And they're both gone. Okay, now, didn't you drink a really old bottle of Old Crow? Yeah, you answered my question. Right, that was the one. And then somebody, last year after the hurricane, she tells me, next door neighbor, she tells me, I got this old bottle of brandy or something. She said, you want to see it? I was like, sure, So she brings it out. And when I looked at it, I was like, unopened. No joke, unopened. They still had the tax stamp on the top, corked. So I'm looking at this thing and I'm like, where did you get this? She said, we went to an estate sale last year and I got it for $1. I said, $1? So I'm looking at the tax stamp, it's kind of washed out, but I said, I tell the lady, I said, this stamp says 1954. I said, this cognac's from 1954. And it's a VS, so that means it's 2 to 4 year age generally. She said, oh, it's that old? I said, yeah, it's like almost 70 years old. She said, you can have it. I said, what? I'm like shaking my head like, what? She said, we're never going to drink it. I said, why would you not drink it? She said, I don't know. I just bought it. I said, well, you don't drink cognac? She said, tells me, I never had cognac. I'm like shaking my head. I said, well, why'd you buy it? She said, because it was $1. So Biscuit and Debouché. Come to find out, the company's been around since 1810. No, I'm sorry, 1819. 1819. They're still in business, still make cognac. And not just the VS either. They make higher level, VSOP, XO. Well, I couldn't get over that one. I still got most of it left. Cork, crazy. I've never seen Biscuit and Debouché on the shelves around here. So 3 great gifts. But not likely to happen again, but who knows? All right, well, y'all take care now. And so the winner, Cutty Sark Prohibition Repeal. Yeah, the clear and present winner. Will we do another one today? I doubt it, but we'll be back this weekend, I would assume, God willing. So I got a few more blended scotches to go up against Cutty Sark. Some of them are right around the level of Hunter Piper's, but worse. Maybe like Green Plaid, Inverhouse Green Plaid. You say, not Inverhouse Green Plaid, not Inverhouse Green Plaid.